Ever heard of a Triumph Throbber? Well, this is it. Okay, forget Throbber, it's a bit of a joke, but actually this bike has been nicknamed that by the guys in the shed because it is a hybrid between a Thruxton and a bobber. Bad idea? Well, there was only one way to find out, and that was to do it. So some of you may remember that back in 2015, Down and Out Café Racers built for me a Triumph T100, the old air-cooled model, and it had big fat tyres on it on 16-inch rims, and it was matte black and silver with brown leather and grips, and it looked absolutely fantastic. Everybody loved the bike, and I loved the bike. There was only one problem with it. It was the old Triumph, so it was heavy and it was slow, and with those 16-inch rims, the bike wore Coca Beck tyres, and they really didn't go around corners very well. It was lively, I got used to it, and it was sort of fun, but it wasn't exactly a bike that could handle. And I like bikes that can handle. I own Ducatis, I do track days, and having bikes that go fast and go around corners well is something that I really appreciate. And I didn't have it in that bike, which is why I sold it. I then followed up by getting a Triumph Thruxton 1200, which was an absolutely brilliant bike, and some of you will have seen the journey that that bike went through, and it became known as the Hoxton. And we tried to turn that bike into the ultimate Triumph Café Racer, mostly using catalogue parts and things that you could buy off the shelf and just bolt on. You'll have seen videos where Dan and I decatted the bike. We played around with lighting and indicators and LEDs and made the bike as sleek and as lightweight as we could. And we made that bike work, and it ran really well at the Café Racer Cup at Linden Hill, and I absolutely loved it. But I still missed that old T100. Now this bike is that Hoxton, that Café Racer. And what I've done is I've just, well, either ruined it or made it brilliant, depending on your perspective. The reason this all came about was because a few months ago I went to LA and Triumph very kindly lent me a Speedmaster. It wasn't a bike I was really into. I'd ridden the bobber, and I thought that was a good bike, and it handled incredibly well considering that it was a foot-forward cruiser-style bike. And the Speedmaster was even better. But what I was amazed by was the fact that it had 16-inch fat wheels with big balloon tyres on it, and it went round corners. In fact, the bike handled brilliantly, and I was really impressed with the combination of wheels and Avon Cobra tyres that the bike had been fitted with. And that sent me thinking, could I fit wheels like that and tyres like that to my Thruxton and recreate that T100 that I'd had back in 2015 and 2016 by putting bobber black wheels on a Triumph Thruxton? And guess what? I already had one. I had the Hoxton. I'd ridden it at Linden Hill. I thought it was a fantastic Café Racer, but when I wasn't doing a track day on that bike, it just sat in here looking pretty, and that was a complete waste for me. I don't really have spare money knocking around for me to just have bikes sitting in here doing nothing. I wanted to ride it, and also I really, really love the Triumph 1200 Thruxton engine and the way it's tuned. It's absolutely brilliant. So, after a bit of a chat with Down and Out Café Racers and a little bit of help from the guys at Ziggy Moto doing some 3D renders for me, we worked out a parts list and a spec list for the bike that mostly centered around putting those Triumph bobber black wheels onto the Thruxton, but also I wanted a handlebar conversion. I learned to ride bikes off-road, and also I live in London, so most of the time I'm riding around London city streets under 50 miles an hour, and I really like handlebars. They just suit me better in terms of riding a bike. So the other part in terms of making the bike better for me to ride on a daily basis, and also looking more like that old T100, was to put handlebars on it. And while we were there, I wanted to change quite a lot of other things as well. Dan and I decatted the original pipe, but I was aware that it was still a twin-skinned stainless steel set of pipes, and it was heavy. There were link pipes involved. The X pipe that you put in there to bypass the cat is still a really big, heavy piece of metal, and I wanted to lose more weight. So we replaced the pipes for single-skin stainless steel 2-into-2 pipes, and basically got rid of as much weight as we could. In terms of transforming the front end, the guys at Down and Out needed to fit new triple clamp at the top to accommodate risers and these nice fat LSL bars. But also what they're very good at is tidying other things up as well. So they lowered the clocks, they fitted their headlight bucket and their brackets for that, and also they tidied up all the wiring, put it inside the bars, and fitted these really lovely minimalistic switches, which I think come from Motone. I've also got new levers, new master cylinders, All of the top end of the bike is completely tidied up, along with these big fat brown grips which come from Triumph and these Rizoma bar end indicators. So the whole thing at the front end is transformed and looks absolutely fantastic. The rest of the bike is all about smaller details. We already had the New Age Cycles rear end LEDs, which are a little bit like the old kind of Tron thing that you see on the Ducati Sport Classics. And I did end up keeping the original back end shape, although the seat's been reupholstered. And we tried refitting the Café Racer seat cowl at the back, and actually I really like it. It means the bike isn't exactly the same as it was before and isn't quite that brat style silhouette, but it really works. And overall, the bike now has the look I'm after, but it has a huge amount of performance advantages. One of the other things that happened very early on in the Hoxton build were Ohlins were kind enough to give me these black line shocks for the back end, which really transformed the back end handling and gave me full adjustability. And that was followed up a few months later, just in time for Lydden Hill, with their FSK cartridge insert kit. So now I've got full adjustable Ohlins at the back and the front. The only thing that's not ideal is right now this bike is still set up for Lydden Hill. So despite the big fat tyres and the front end conversion and the wheels at the back and front, the whole thing is actually really taut and has really sharp turn in, and it's also quite high, quite tall. It works pretty well, but I'll probably play about with that and try and make the bike a little bit more suitable for riding around London. But ultimately, I'm incredibly happy with the end result. The bike has the spirit of the look and feel of that original T100, but it handles, it goes around corners, the brakes, the suspension, the engine are absolutely brilliant. And as far as I know, no one has done this to a Triumph Thruxton. And not only that, I have a bike that now matches my Triumph Street Scrambler. So big thanks to Triumph, big thanks to Down and Out, and to everybody who helped make this happen. So what everybody really wants to know is, what does she sound like?